to the Internal Medicine for Vet Techs podcast. If you haven't joined us before, we're passionate about all things internal medicine and helping you become the best tech you can be. We'll be discussing interesting internal medicine diseases, how to work closely with pet parents, and how to become the go-to tech in your practice. Now, let's start the show. Welcome back. We're super excited that you are joining us again for our episode about DKA, Diabetic Ketoacidosis. This is episode number 10. So we are 10 episodes in. If you're listening to this, we are super excited that you have made the commitment to learning, continuing education, and becoming better technicians, because we all want that. We hope you're still doing well. I believe we are in the throes of the holiday season, so hopefully everybody's staying sane. I am Yvonne Brandenburg, and I am joined by Jordan Porter. Hey, girl.
Hello again.
Yeah, exactly. So we're super excited. When we recorded this, which is first week of December, actually, I'm super excited that as of right now, we have over 500 downloads of our episodes, which is very exciting.
Yay.
I know, to
Not
most
that we
people
count
out
like
there
daily.
in podcasts, but I mean, I may check multiple times in a day. Just saying. Yeah. No, I don't. Yes, I totally do. But it's very cool that we actually have over 500 downloads. That means there's people out there that like us, Jordan.
I know, man, if that's not like a boost to your self-esteem. So thank you.
Or they just like what we're talking about. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but you gotta like us a little bit in order to listen to what we talk about, right?
To listen to our voices for over an hour on a drive or while doing chores. That's true.
Yes.
So we have a couple of shout outs. First of all, Jordan, I feel kind of like a rock star kind of talked about us a little bit.
I know.
So
it's like Vet Tech famous.
I know, right? Yeah, it's Vet Tech famous. So if you guys have, because obviously you're listening to our podcast, which means you like listening to podcasts. But if you have not checked out Vet Tech Cafe, by the way, you should definitely check it out. They're doing some cool stuff over there. They just started. They launched about the same time that we did. And they're doing like this cool interview style and talking about kind of all the things that affect us as veterinary technicians, as veterinary professionals, which is really cool. And it's Jeff Bacchus and Dave Cowan, and we super appreciate them because they've shared our podcast to their people, which is great.
I know. Spreading the word. So we would like to share the love and spread the word of their amazing podcast.
Yeah. So we'll put their link in the show notes as well for you to check out their podcast and help them get up and running too.
Sure. So we also had a review from Nuclear Waste Sink Man. Nice. Says, thanks. This is one of my favorite podcasts. Very informative. Hosts have a way of explaining complicated diseases, which is super nice. We do appreciate all those reviews. It's nice to be kind of told that we're explaining things well. So
yeah, and that one's cool because that's on iTunes. And we would love for you guys to review us on iTunes. It helps people see the podcast, which is really cool. And iTunes likes reviews, so yes, we would sincerely appreciate it. Do we have any questions from our last couple of episodes that we needed to bring up?
Not yet, I believe. So please go back and answer the questions, and we'd be happy to reply to your questions or reply to your answers of our questions of the week from previous weeks. So please go back and look at those. You can find those questions of the week on internalmedicineforvettechs.com under the podcast show notes. So if you look there, you can kind of see our previous questions of the week from all the previous 9 episodes, and we can shout you out.
Sounds perfect. So I think without anything else to go over, we can just dive into this week's episode, which is all about diabetic ketoacidosis. All right, cool. Here we go. Okay, so this week we will be discussing DKA, or diabetic ketoacidosis. We'll also touch on diabetic ketosis, because there are a little bit of differences, but basically we treat them the same. All right, so here we go into the wonderful world of DKA. We're gonna see how this podcast episode goes. We're hoping to keep it into one because there will be a lot of references to the diabetes episodes, which were episodes
7 and 8.
7 and 8. So
Yep.
definitely, if you haven't listened to episodes 7 and 8, which are about diabetes, I probably would start with that first and then listen to DKA. But if you're super familiar with diabetes, you just want to dive into DKA, we can, you can jump right in. So so everybody knows some of the references that I use the two that are kind of my Bibles, I guess you could say. So the Canine and Feline Endocrinology book. And then the second book is Linda Merrill's Small Animal Internal Medicine for Veterinary Technicians and Nurses. Again, if you don't have it, I don't understand why you don't. So
Get it.
We have
It's on
links for
Amazon.
both those.
It's super easy to get.
Yes.
And you need it.
Yeah. And honestly, if you want the book, if you are studying for your boards, for your VTS, talk to your clinic. My clinic, they actually reimbursed me for a lot of the books that I bought while I was studying. So that's definitely an option. Okay. So one of the interesting facts that I learned, which there was definitely a rabbit hole that I went down, but one of the interesting facts I learned about diabetes and DKA was insulin itself actually wasn't available for people to use until the 1920s. Prior to that, people actually would die from DKA because your body is not making insulin, and so bad things happen, and we'll talk about that. So the mortality rate is actually down to about 5% in humans. Most of the times, once a person is hospitalized, they can actually recover with hospitalization. The biggest complications are going to be the concurrent diseases, which are actually going to be very similar in veterinary medicine. And it's interesting then veterinary medicine, the decrease in mortality has also kind of corresponded with the human medicine side too.
Which I know we'll get into it, but I like DKs in the sense of like you set up the tree of life for them.
Yeah.
And like,
yes,
it's just like so rewarding to like have, I'm OCD, so I like to label all my pumps and I label all my lines and like everything's labeled.
and honestly, I think when you're dealing with these cases, that is probably the best time to be OCD because there's so many things that you're going to be doing and you really need to be able to keep track of all of that. And it is probably the most tech intensive, I think, of the internal medicine diseases is the DKA patients.
Definitely. It's very like use all of your tech skills. Here's, it's just good research to kind of, if you get one of those cases, go back and figure out why you're doing everything the way you're doing it.
Yeah. So it was really interesting for me reading about DKA because I knew I've known some of these things kind of peripherally, but to actually kind of sink my teeth into it was kind of nice. So one of the things that we talk about is obviously ketones. Ketones are what defines this disease. So a ketone body is when the patient does not have enough insulin to use glucose, it breaks down fat and releases fatty acids into the bloodstream. And then those fatty acids travel to the liver and then get oxidized and metabolized and stuff to an energy source that the body can use. So that's where they come from. It was interesting to me that they naturally do occur in most patients and most pets on a daily basis. It's just when there's too much of them, that's when the problem happens. One of the interesting things about ketone bodies is, so it's not just one molecule substance that actually forms the ketone bodies. So there's 4 of them. There's acetoacetate, beta hydroxybutyrate. I'm probably saying these wrong. Acetone, and then there's some other ones as well, but those are kind of the big 3. And it's interesting because if you read the like names of them, they sound very acidic to me.